wrongs a mu'ahid, i.e. a non-Muslim enjoying the protection of Muslims, or diminishes his right, or forces him to work beyond his capacity, or takes from him anything without his consent, I shall be his adversary on the day of judgment. And another narration, whoever kills a mu'ahid shall not smell the fragrance of paradise, though its fragrance can be smelt at a distance of 40 years of travelling.
You all think you're right, and you think that the Muslims are going to hell, and they think that you're going to hell.
How do you know which eggs, which bread, and even which shampoo to buy? You read the label. You may do research of some of the ingredients used, and or you may try them. Then why is it that when it comes to religion, we get hella lazy? We don't give up on Netflix just because there's thousands of episodes on there. We take our time, watch trailers, look at the blurbs, and we pick one and we watch it. We don't sit there paralyzed with choice going, oh, there's so many. You know what? I'm not going to watch anything at all, mate. I'm just going to sit down and wait for death. I'm telling you that religions don't outnumber the amount of episodes and series and movies you got on Netflix. There's like 5 religions. Oh my God, there's so much.
You all think you're right. Subscribe to a doctrine that slams homosexuality. Come on, bro. That's ridiculous. Why we have to perpetuate a belief that is silly.
My question to you is, what are you defending, yeah? Are you defending a male teacher who claims to be a woman wearing prosthetic giant breasts with protruding nipples in a school, and the school and the government can't do jack all about it? Are you defending 3 fathers who have taken the matter to court and they want to raise a baby together? I'll tell you what happened to a gay journalist in Norway. She could face 3 years in prison for claiming that only women can be lesbians and not men. The philosophy, love is love, would compel you to defend incest, as is happening in Germany. A 52-year-old man who left his wife and children so he could live as a 6-year-old girl.
Subscribe to a doctrine that slams.
Of course, human error has. You can't expect people to just write it down word for word and not make any mistake over thousands of years.
But that's the beauty of Islam. We say we're not relying. It's not a bookish religion. It's memorized. It's passed heart to heart. Now here, standing here, I'll recite something. Do you think in your understanding me and him have ever had a conversation? No. Have we ever had a conversation before? No. I'm going to recite something and I'm going to put a mistake in there and I want to see if you can correct it. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alateen. You're changing teen to mean, yeah? Do you agree with that? Do you agree with that? Yeah. Do I agree with that? Yeah. There's 3 people here. None of us have opened the book and we've been able to identify a mistake that's done.
What if the Prophet Muhammad said something?
Yeah.
Okay. Years later, it didn't come true, and people just like push on the word. Forget that. Let's see what he did say.
One narration where a companion said, we participated in 6 battles with the Prophet, and in those 6 battles with the Prophet, we didn't have food, so we'd have to eat locusts. Now think about it. This is the leader, this is the Prophet, this is the one that we're following, eating locusts. If there's hadith that need to be brushed on the carpet, it would be this one. There's another one. The Prophet was racing a Bedouin on his camel and he lost. There's another narration. Prophet fell off the camel and he hurt himself. Do you see? So this goes to show that everything about the Prophet, like even the amount of grey hairs on his beard, that's the detail that we know. But with regards to Jesus, we don't know what happened 30 years before the Bible starts. 40 years before the Prophet, peace be upon him, even was given prophethood, 40 years before, we know about it. Have a look at this bit of news. 3 dads have committed to raising a baby. Some people might get angry about this, but I'm thinking, how on earth is this gonna work, mate? It seems like these guys were told 2 wrongs don't make a right, so they thought, why not try 3, mate? And let's face it, no one is gonna know where the keys are in this house because that's a God-given talent only given to women. An argument in this house is gonna end up being a triple threat match. Tables, ladders and chairs and everything. Even when traveling, these guys are gonna have to get a van because that's the only way all 3 of them are gonna be able to sit at the front without arguing. Let's be honest.
A lot of people say,
oh, but what about now? How come the Muslims aren't advancing?
yes, we are. Muslims are the most advanced civilization.
Oh, how? But they're not creating this.
When did creating creating stuff and inventing stuff become the criteria. Yeah, because people that are inventing stuff and that are doing well technologically, in terms of their morality, they've gone down. Yeah, your little children are removing genitalia because they don't know what a man is, what a woman is. Yeah, leaving parents in old people's homes. What sort of civilization, what sort of morality and ethics is this? Islam is clear cut when it comes to this sort of stuff. Yeah, that's why I would say that as Muslims we have advanced. Yeah, we are the most advanced, but people, sadly, you see how it's skewed when the criteria becomes skewed, or how many Nobel Prizes. But you know Nobel Prizes are skewed as well. But how many inventions? We know the golden era Muslims had so many inventions. Yes, because of politics, geopolitics and the military complex. It's not the same anymore. But when you look at ethics and morals, that's the reason why Islam is the fastest growing religion in the world.
If you own territory, a vast swath of land, and you're doing nothing to it, and someone comes and squats on it and spends a lot of time improving it, at some point they actually develop a valid legal claim to the property itself.
There was no someone else. There practically were no tenants.
Right.
That's my argument.
Guys, a chill has descended after the fans of Jordan Peterson are now silent when he has invited the war criminal Benjamin Netanyahu, the now Prime Minister of Israel. Before we could make excuses for this individual, but now when Benjamin Netanyahu was talking and he even insinuated that Palestine had not existed and he was left unchallenged by JP. I mean, what can be said about this individual now? He's come out in the open, and this isn't the first time. He is now clearly a pawn being used by the Zionists.
If you own territory...
Ladies and gentlemen, a chill has descended over England after their loss in the quarterfinals to France. And guys, it wasn't pretty. And I'm gonna be honest, when it came to the Euros a couple of years ago, and it was the black people that missed the penalties, everyone was up in arms. But now, it was a white guy, Harry Kane, that missed the penalties. What are we gonna say now? Yeah, we gotta be consistent with our racism, mate. And secondly, mate, when England gets beaten, so do the women in England as well, as you can see from these domestic violence helplines, mate. And hopefully, give it a couple of days before you return back home if you're a woman in England, mate. It's not good to blame any individual, mate. It's the whole team that's got to be taken into consideration. Yeah, ladies and Assalamu alaikum, guys. As we know, the British ruled India for 200 years and they did many oppressive things, but this guy was somebody that even the British feared. Look at this guy's face. They called him the Tiger of Mysore. Here you can see his sword, mashallah. I don't know why they have it here. It should really be in India. The British love taking stuff and not returning it. Look at this guy. There's his ring, and there possibly is a container of his musk. So somebody who even the British feared, the last man standing after the British obviously took over India, and this guy caused them major problems. Look at this glorious, fantastic sword, such detail on there, and really exemplifies, mashallah, this guy's taste. And look at that glorious moustache. And then on the side in the British Museum, you can see this individual, which yeah, doesn't really say much, frankly. Assalamu alaikum, guys. Beware if anyone wrongs a mu'ahid, i.e. a non-Muslim enjoying the protection of Muslims, or diminishes his right, or forces him to work beyond his capacity, or takes from him anything without his consent, I shall be his adversary on the day of judgment. And another narration, whoever kills a mu'ahid shall not smell the fragrance of paradise, though its fragrance can be smelt at a distance of 40 years of traveling. Beware if anyone... Portugal played Uruguay. It was interrupted by a pitch invader who came in with an LGBTQ flag. On the front of his t-shirt, he had a Superman logo and Save Ukraine, and on the back, respect for Iranian women. This so-called hero has offended the very people that he's trying to defend, because in LGBTQ there are not two genders. In fact, there are over 100 genders. So the fact that he's got Iranian women on his t-shirt, that's transphobic, mate. LGBTQ is inherently contradictory, because two of the letters, G, gay, and L, lesbian, requires two men and two women. But if you don't even accept men and women, then how does this work, mate?
just had to go through a special gate in Qatar for ladies only. Somehow I don't feel that.
She'll be allowed in the stadium. They're not stopping her from going into the stadium. They're just separating the men and the women. However, if she wore a hijab and she was entering a school in India and in France, she will be told to remove that piece of clothing.
Wow.
She'll be told to show her body just so she can go and sit an exam, or just so she can go inside and become educated. Just let that sink in for a while. Here you're just going into a stadium. But in France, in possibly Denmark, they've banned the hijab as well. In India, this was everywhere. All over social media, where young girls were going to sit their exams and they were told to remove clothing just so they can go in and sit the exam.
You people are always talking about miracles, mate. Give me evidence that there are miracles. You Muslims always talk about stuff without proof, mate. Give me proof.
The whistle has gone. Saudi Arabia have beaten Argentina by 2-1. Who would have thought that?
Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah.
So I swear yesterday or the day before we just found out that Dr. Zakir Naik has been invited to Qatar, and before a person can say, brother, I have a question, he says, is it true that in the book of John there is absolutely no mention of the World Cup?
I bear witness that there is no God.
There's no God
but Allah.
My guy has only gone there, flipping landed, and 4 people have accepted Islam, mate. Flaming Nora, mate. Brother, asked a rude question. There have been vocal calls, especially here in the UK, to boycott Qatar in the World Cup. Well, my question is, where the heck have you guys been? If you boycott Qatar, the UK economy is gonna go down the toilet, mate. Because this is the same Qatar that this year has invested £10 billion in the UK economy. In fact, in total, Qatar has invested £40 billion in UK's economy. And not to mention that they own major shares in companies like Barclays, yes, Barclays Bank, BA, and Heathrow, and of course Sainsbury's. They own large swathes of the capital and iconic places like the Shard, Canary Wharf, Harrods, and the London Stock Exchange. There have been vocal calls, especially here in the UK. These brothers are standing here, mashallah, patiently, listening. Their intention is seeking knowledge.
I love language, mashallah.
Yeah. Mashallah means, Allah willed it.
Allah willed it. I do like language. Sorry.
Yeah. In fact, what's interesting is, in English, when you say hello, I'm sure you'll agree, it doesn't mean anything, does it? But in Islam, when we greet somebody, we say Assalamu alaikum. Okay. May peace be upon you.
Oh, yeah, which is a great greeting.
In English, you say thank you. Thank you doesn't really mean anything. If you look at the definition, they'll tell you when you say it, in what situation, but what do the words actually mean? It doesn't mean anything. And in Islam, if you were to give me something, I'd say Jazakallahu khair. May God, Allah reward you with something better. Jazakallah khair.
Khaya.
Yeah.
Jazakallah khaya.
Yeah, repeat after me. Ashhadu. No.
I'm going to get christened in a minute.
Like with morality, but I'm assuming you're most likely a liberal.
Well, again, liberal with respect to what?
With regards to morality.
Morality. Well, I was curious more about your views on Wahhabism and Salafism.
But that's what I'm saying. If I know your moral framework, then
it should be independent of where I am.
Not necessarily.
My question is, without a specific comment.
Can I just answer that, please? Yeah. So when you say, what do you think about Salafism? Mm-hmm. If I say good or bad, if you're an agnostic who believes in a liberal framework, both words are meaningless to you. You can't tell me if something is right or wrong. You can't tell me if something's good or bad objectively.
Well, you can describe them to me, but
you need law structure, and you need revelation.
That's why I asked that question. I wasn't trying to divert.
Okay.
Like with here we can see Jordan Peterson flipping heck. What is wrong with this guy? It's like, seriously. Now he's meeting happily, joyously with Benjamin
flipping waste man. Yeah, the new Prime Minister of Israel and war criminal. Someone needs to tell JP that this is the same Benjamin that has collabed with the religious Zionist party. The same party that's known for having extreme far-right views. Their leader, Itamar bin Giver, has a history of violent hate speech. And not to mention, he had a framed picture of Baruch Goldstein. You know, the dude that killed 29 Palestinians in a mosque. Here we can see Jordan Peterson. True Geordie, somebody that's been given fame by KSI and Logan Paul because of YouTuber boxing events, Sidemen podcasts, and his football commentary, has now decided to go rogue and assume that all Muslims are bombers. Not only is this factually incorrect because in 2016 Obama dropped 3 bombs every hour. Naveed Sheikh reports from 0 to 2008, Christianity has resulted in 178 million deaths and Muslims only 31 million. William Bloom has said that America has invaded 50 countries since World War II. So stop with the lecture, mate. Not only is
Iran has the something that Iraq doesn't have. Iran has, for example, 250,000 satellite dishes. It has internet use. I once said to the heads of the CIA when I was prime minister that if you want to advance regime change in Iran, you don't have to go through the CIA cloak and dagger stuff. What you want to do is take very large, very strong transponders and just beam Melrose Place and Beverly Hills 2050 and all that into Tehran and into Iran, because that is subversive stuff. They watch it, the young kids watch it, the young people, they want to have the same nice clothes at the same houses and swimming pools and so on.
he says that if you are to incur regime change, just send a few of these movies and a few of these programs, and it will do the job for us, for it will liberalize people. I mean, what he was referring to.
Iran has the...
We've got to come together, we have got to unite, and you know, we are going to. So come next spring, come next summer, all this in the last few weeks, last couple of months, I think, you know, inshallah, it is going to be a distant dream.
Is it recoverable though?
Yes.
Do you think that...
We've got to come together.
So people say to me, do you believe in God? What do you mean do? What do you mean you? What do you mean believe? And what do you mean God?
Jordan is the type of guy that if he's borrowed money from you and it's time to return it, he'll go,
what do you mean by return? What do you mean by money? What do you mean by me?
Somebody comes and goes, yo, move your car, bro, you're blocking the road.
What do you mean by...
Of course not, mate. He's not gonna say that. But when it comes to God, everyone starts playing the fool. Oh, what do you mean by God?
We have footage of me on camera just like becoming frustrated with having to fake this energy on camera. It put me into like a mild depression.
Giving a selfie because selfies stop the world. You know, they stop life. You then go like that, and it's going on Instagram to give people a false sense of relevance.
Oh yes, I would definitely class that as something startling, because if you think about it, guys, social media is just a place where people look more happier and more beautiful than they do in real life. Yes, I said it. Yeah, I said it. Elon Musk calling Instagram a thirst trap.
So the problem is like Instagram, man, it's just a thirst trap, you know?
We have footage of me on camera just like becoming